Here we go at Chapter 2, Greenfoot. It is titled Little Crab. The topics, we're going to be writing some code. The gaming kind of environment things we're going to look at are movement and turning on the screen and reacting to screen edges. So those are kind of the game topics is what I think of that when it says topics. Concepts are more of the theory behind the scene, what we're going to be looking at, the actual code, source code. We're going to be looking at calling methods. You will be writing some of your own method calls. Parameters, those are the things that are used inside the method calls. Sequencing, nesting code, if statements, errors, error messages, and documentation, just to name a few. There's probably a few more I could add on there. The two scenarios we're going to look at is Little Crab, and we're going to look at Fat Cat. Little Crab will be with us for a few chapters, and we will have a full-blown game developed by the time we get done with that. Fat Cat is used just to practice in this particular scenario, and it could be used a little bit later on. I'm going to toggle to some other screens. I'm using an Alt-Tab to toggle, and I want to take a look at some code here, just to show you a little example of the sequencing and nesting of code. And your textbook will talk about this some, but not as much as I'm going to right now. The sequencing basically amounts to having lines of code, one right after the other, or blocks of code. You can see this block of code that's all one color and a block of code all one color. Those are sequencing. So your sequencing commands or methods, one right after the other. Down below here, you can see that you have two shades on this block of code, and so this is nesting. I have a loop, which we aren't going to learn about yet, but this is a loop inside of what's called the walk command. So when you're looking at, or when we're looking at this sequencing and the nesting code, that's what I want you to be looking at. If statements, I'm going to talk about that actually in a helper video. I'm going to create a helper video to go along with this chapter, and that helper video will give you some hints on setting up and doing some of the exercises from the worksheets. So that's it for the introduction. Look for the helper video for Chapter 2.